Welcome, my friends, to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, and I'm thrilled you're joining me today for a fun conversation with a passionate author. We're kicking off the program, like it's our tradition, with a short reading from the feature book. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Author Z Knight. I write under 3 distinct pen names, but they're all romance related. I am a USA Today bestselling author and also an award-winning editor. I own a small press called Aurelia Leo, and I'm also just really dedicated person when it comes to diversity in literature. So I started a mobile bookstore called Pride Book Cafe, and that's all about me. Today, I'll be reading from Wed to the Warlock, an arcane anarchy novel. This series is urban fantasy, mafia and crime, and supernatural and paranormal elements all wrapped into one. I'll be reading from chapter 6 with the main character, Ransom. Bloody lacerations crisscross the unknown wizard's burnt brown skin, neck bent at an unnatural angle, as if someone had tried to snap it in two and failed. Ransom's lips jerked upward, disgusted by the mess of blood, bone, and misplaced organs splattered all over the alleyway's brick walls that used to belong to a human. Who the hell is this, Ren? Ransom squatted down so he could better feel the resonating energy left behind, in search of its owner. Are you sure you want to know? Ren asked. He pulled out a cigarette and lit it with 2 snaps of his fingers, shaking off the smoke generated by the spell. I'm not here to play 20 questions with you. You dragged me out here to look at a slashed up wizard for what? It's got to be something important. He used to be someone important enough to bring me here. Spit it out so we can get back home. His voice faded out, aware that prying eyes and ears could be nearby. They were in the heart of the paranormal club scene in downtown Seattle on a Friday night. That meant one of the songs or Cross's lackeys could be nearby, so they had to be careful. Ransom lowered his voice. Who is it, Ren? You're looking at none other than Maran the Magnificent, former Grand Wizard of Seattle. Ren replied nonchalantly, as if he hadn't just dropped a bombshell on Ransom. The warlock's eyebrows furrowed, standing up and turning so he was facing the living wizard. Ransom's look of utter disbelief slowly morphed into rage. Ren whispered into Ransom's ear via magic, still a good foot away from the scene of the crime. Well, what's left of him, anyway. This is Maran, the Grand Wizard of fucking Seattle with his guts spilled all over the place? You've got to be fucking kidding me. Ransom scoffed. He couldn't believe that anyone would be so bold to decimate Seattle's leadership overnight. He was even surprised anyone, or anything, was strong enough to do it. But Ransom was looking at the proof. The smell alone would follow him for months. Yes, touch that half-drawn signal on the wall, written in blood. It's his mark, his energy, and his downfall. He couldn't complete it in time. There's no doubt it's Maran. But what we need to figure out is who did it, when, and why. Ren was right. The distinct yellow aura radiating from the butchered corpse along with the symbol carried his signature. Now that Ransom knew it was Maran, chopped up and smashed on the ground, it was undeniable.
Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. Woo! And today we have the amazing and talented Ms. Z with us. Hi, madam.
Hi! I'm so excited to be here.
I am thrilled you're here. I am excited to hear about this book and this birthday celebration. So we're going to jump right in. You need to tell us, what is this book about? Where did it come from? What's going on?
Okay, so this book slash series originally came about because a group of authors and I got together to create a shared world. We saw some amazing covers and we were like, man. And at that time, the paranormal mafia trend was just kind of kicking off. You had Sam Fox and a couple other authors writing about vampires and werewolves and fays in this kind of paranormal mafia scene. The same way mafia romance had kind of been taking off for a while. Now, unfortunately, the collaboration didn't work out. You know how things go. Us authors, we have a mind of our own, but I still was really in love with the idea or the essence of the story I had created. I had originally, now it's been retitled, but a short called Grimoires and Curses that I wrote that introduced you to the world, and it led to the Warlock was book one. I figured just because things don't work out doesn't mean I can't still explore this really fantastical world. And so I rearranged some bits, and that's how Arcane Anarchy was born.
I love the combination of the different elements. You got mob, you got supernatural, you got crime fighting, you got a little bit of everything to keep you going. And then you go and I write romance. And I was like, I don't know what the romance is going to fit in this series. Is there actually romance in this series?
It actually is romance. So the reason why I always start was that kind of really gruesome when I talk about this series is because I don't want people going into a mob series thinking it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows, right? There's going to be blood, there's going to be guts, there's going to be magic battles, but there is a really strong romantic element. The main character Ransom and a sorceress called Jade are like the main couple. And so they go through some pretty difficult times, I'm not gonna lie, but the romance is heavy. It's a love story at the end. It's just one with a few more explosions and battles in between.
I am that kid who's not really crazy about romance. So if you could add a whole bunch of explosions and battles, I would take the love story. I still need to have some stuff in there that makes me go, ooh, that just got nasty. So I am loving it. Creating a world, creating this series. How many books are in this series?
Yeah, so right now I have a trilogy planned. It is interconnected. The one good thing about this series is that you can read one of the books and not have to continue. You can like get a full love story, a full like sequence. But if you read the epilogues at the end, it connects to the next couple. So it's planned to be a trilogy, an interconnected trilogy. And then I have some shorts in between. The other cool thing about this world is Arcane Anarchy is connected to my Grimoire Chronicles series, which follows a similar pattern of witches, demon slaying, crime fighting. So it's kind of like a shared world where you can just kind of dip your toes wherever you want to. But Grimoire Chronicles is more of a traditional trilogy. You have to read it in order once it is fully out. But I figured that people would like more being able to dip their toes in different aspects of the mob culture when it comes to Arcane Anarchy.
I love that you have those options in there that you can kind of go in. Okay, I want a series. I'm going to go from one through whatever, or I want a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I'm all about options. So that's exciting. You're creating these worlds and you're creating in different areas. Where did you get your motivation from?
I think I got my motivation. Funny enough, it's between, especially for this series, is my love of true crime, my love of werewolves, and just wanted to smash those together, right? So I, before my fear romance, before I discovered that, I too was just like, how do you work a love story into like something that's that brutal? But then I thought back to my one true love series, which is the Underworld series. It's blood, it's gun, it's gun battles, everything going on. But at the heart, it's a Selena Michaels love story. Like that's a love story in there. And so I was like, oh, you can make that into a book. That can work, right? It can work. I mean, I love the Underworld series. That's basically what happened. I was like, man, what if I could just do mobsters, but they're like werewolves and vampires battling, but also we still get that happy ever after.
It's a good combination. I like that you have the underworld reference because it does. You honestly go in there looking for a nice action movie, and there is that really fun love story that just doesn't hit you right in the face. You're like, okay. As the series progresses, you get a whole lot more of the love story, but still, it's really, really fun.
Mhm.
You write in so many different genres. Do you have an actual preference of which one you enjoy to write?
That's a good question. I think preference wise, I love writing shifter romance and alien romance the most. And shifters just because I'm a werewolf girl. You know how some girls are horse girls? I'm a werewolf girl, right? I just love shifters. And so, especially werewolves. So, shifter romance is great for me. And then I just love alien romance too because I've always been into sci fi and I'm always the person that's like, that was a great movie. Like, that was a great movie, but there was a lot of tension between these two. We should have explored that a little bit more, you know? So I'm that person. So that's why I really love writing sci-fi romance, but also alien romance too, because I like the clash of two cultures trying to come together.
Alien romance has been picking up left and right. I've been seeing it everywhere, and I'm going, where did this come from? Like, where does this entire genre and this fascination for it? But I think when I hear you talking about it, I was like, you do have a point. Do we actually had to kill them all? Like, we could something would have survived out of that. How do you fell in love with that? How do you decided to be like, I'm going to write an alien romance? How does that work?
Well, funny that you asked that. The first book I ever published, it's very short. It's a novella, but it's called Valor, is actually an alien romance. I published it way back in 2018 and republished it back in 2020 when I restarted my career. The reason why, similar to you, I was always into romance. It's just a genre that I was in, but I didn't really know alien romance was a thing, right? Like
Mhm.
I've watched Alien, the movie, I've read a lot of romance. I didn't know anyone was trying to combine the two, right? And so when I picked up my first one, and gosh, it's kind of hard to think what was my very first alien romance. I read the big ones before, like to all the rage now, but I read her years ago. I explained it Barbarians. I think it might have been Venomous by Penelope Fletcher. Might have been the very first one I read. And it was recommended to me just through like search engine on Amazon. And I was like, this kind of looks weird. Guy kind of looks like a snake. He wasn't as scary as a Xenomorph, right? But I was like, well, I like shifters. They got to have their werewolf state. As long as nothing too weird happens, I'll give it a try. I gave it a try and I fell in love. I couldn't go back. I downloaded so many alien romances in like a week after I blew through Venomous. I really do think Venomous was the first one I read.
It is beautiful because honestly, like I've seen covers. I was like, what's up with the green guy? What's up with the blue? What am I looking at? I went to a convention and finally someone was like, so you have some alien romance. And I did that thing like I did a double take. Like, what? Wait, that's the thing. This is the thing. I was like, how I have not known about this, but it is such an interesting thing because you said it's two cultures clashing together. How did you work it out?
Exactly. And while some haven't aged as well, like to my memory, like no shade to Penelope Fletcher, I love you, but I'm not as in love with Venomous now as I've read others. So I'm like, ooh, some of this was a little weird. But I say that to say that what I love, and like you said, just the clash. I feel like something about alien romance is they say like good sci-fi should reveal like our own like things that are happening currently, modern issues, right? They just set it off in far space, but they're talking
Mhm.
about the day most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time they're addressing issues. So or a lot of genre fiction. And so I think what I love about alien romance, it a lot of times it does deal was a very romantic, feel to it. It deals with really serious topics like xenophobia, right? Not liking the other, ostracizing the other, which is interesting to me. A lot of times it deals with human arrogance that, we're the best and brightest in the whole universe. And then what happens when someone bigger, more apex than us lands on Earth? A lot of times, especially because of the romance genre, it deals with a lot of independent ladies. I'm not talking gun-toting Ripley ladies most of the time. Sometimes you do. It deals with a lot of independent women that get thrust into some crazy situations. And they're like, I got to be resourceful, figure out what to do. So I say that all to say that at its heart, it's no different than most romance novels, that it has a good love story, has some tension, it has some action, but at the same time, it deals with very specific themes that let's pick up my small town contemporary I'm not going to run into. It's the baker and his childhood friend. They fall in love. It's not going to be dealing with no buildings exploding or world ending mistakes that alien romance has, which I think I really love about it.
The stakes are so much higher and the ending and the payoffs are so much bigger because it's all about Dalmatians. Something worse than death. Humanity's gonna disappear. You're like, oh, that's pretty bad.
Yep. You get thrown into some alien planet. There's no way home. What do you do? So
How do I get back here? Stakes are high. Catastrophe is even bigger. You get a little bit of everything. So we're gonna switch gears because your books are fun, but you're also an editor. You're an award-winning editor. How do you got yourself into this world of editing plus writing? How did that happen?
So I would say career wise, and it's hard to even say that like I have a career. Oh my goodness. As a writer and editor, is that I was an editor first. So I founded a small press, and basically what I've been doing for the last almost 6 years now has been editing other people's work. Sometimes paid. I do freelance too, but for the most of the time for my own small press and getting that stuff together. How I got into editing, or the reason why I like editing so much, is because I like getting introduced to new stories and I like getting introduced to new styles of writing. Like I write romance all day, all night. No matter what I write, it's going to have a romantic angle. I don't think I've written something without a romantic angle, right? And so sometimes I just get tired of that. I want to read the sci fi without the romance. I want to read the horror sometimes without the romance. I really enjoy editing because I get introduced to so many new styles of writing and so many new authors. Last year, I won, thanks to my anthology Dominion, published by my small press. I won editing. Basically, the anthology won Best Anthology. It was really exciting to get that award from the British Science Fiction and Fantasy Association. I say all that to say editing is where my heart is at. Most of the time, it's where most of my money is at too. I won't lie, because this author gig, it's hard. It's hard out here. I have always been an editor first, but that's why I find it so interesting to write, because now I have to hand over my babies to another editor, and it's like, oh, this is what people felt when I was realigning their stuff. Ooh, this is harsh.
As an editor writer, you said something that is really profound. You hand your stuff off to somebody else. Why?
The reason why I do that is because, not saying that this is a rule, right? I think a lot of authors have give like these like didactic, like, this is what you have to do to succeed, or this is the key. But I felt that as a writer now, I am way too close to my work. I can do a really good job proofreading, finding sentence structure, a lot of things that line editors and proofreaders do. But I'm too close to do what they would call developmental edits, where I can't see, hey, that's a gigantic plot hole, right? Or you brought up a character and they never came back. It's very hard. And I did not think it was going to be hard, because I've been editing so long, to do basic developmental, because now I'm so close to the world. I'm writing it and I'm so excited. And then I hand it off and someone's like, hey, that's not a connecting right there. Me, what? So it is why I try to hand myself over when it's longer. If it's shorter work, I'll edit it myself, but longer work especially, I find that having that second eye is really helpful.
Especially for people who are thinking about, I have been editor for so long, I should be able to do my own work. We are very connected. Regardless what people say, you're already reading your stuff through your own blinds and you can fill in the blanks. Exactly what's supposed to happen. You're not seeing it from a perspective of somebody who's just picking up the book new. So I love it. What are you working on now, both in your editing side, if you can talk about it, but in your book side?
Editing side, I'm working on a new anthology called Africa Risen that's going to come out by the Core Publishing later this year. It's really cool. Has 30 plus African and African diasporan writers writing sci-fi fantasy with a touch of horror and slipstream weirdness, right? So it's really exciting, and much in the vein of my work with Dominion, working with Black authors to tell speculative fiction. So that's mainly what I'm doing, editing wise, plus short stories and stuff on the side. For my book world, I have, and you just made me think of it. I was working on my latest release, which is Destination Alien Mate, was my co-writer, DJ Holmes, and it's doing really well so far. Definitely check it out. If you love alien romance, hover bikes, laser guns, romance, you'll love Destination Alien Mate. That's my latest work. Right now, I'm working on a short story that connects actually the world of Wed to the Warlock, so Arcade Anarchy, and the world of Grimoire Chronicles. There's a short story called Spells and Stallions about a horse shifter, stallions shifter, and a demon slaying witch. And they're going to this town to eradicate kind of vicious old spirit that's basically sucking the life out of this town.
You're completely mishmashing some interesting topics. You're like, ooh, I have not seen that come up. So it is so much fun how you're merging them together. Are you always interested in pushing the envelope?
Especially when it comes to writing sci-fi and fantasy, I think I'm always trying to genre mash. I think I've never been able to like write what you would call like just a straight alien romance. I always got to be mixing stuff up. And I think especially stuff like urban fantasy, paranormal romance, and science fiction romance, and alien romance, all those genres, you can get weird. You can do some weird stuff. Like you said, that word soup of things going on in this short story, right? It sounds wild, but when you read it on paper, you're like, oh, typical urban fantasy. Nothing too weird. Almost a Jonah Hex feel. Just normal Western and demon slaying things. So I say all that to say that's why I really love the genre, because you can mix up a bunch of stuff and it sounds crazy on paper. And then when you read it, you're like, oh, actually, that's not too bad.
It's a great way to give readers something totally different and yet within the expectations of the genre. So it's absolutely awesome. Tell me, sweetie, because you have experience in so many different things. What would you tell a brand new author who's interested in joining this field that decided, I want a career here? What would your advice would you give them?
I see. You want a career as a writer? And I think that's really something distinct. I think a lot of writers kind of sometimes feel this pressure to make a career out of writing versus writing. Like sometimes you can just write for enjoyment write because you just want to get this one story out here. But if you want a career as a writer, and I say that as someone now trying to build a career as a writer after building a career as an editor, I think what you have to have is a certain level of dedication, time management, and the ability to not dampen your creative spirit, but this thing called right to market. I think writers hear that a lot and they think, oh, I just have to write what everybody else writes, and all my covers have to look like everybody else. I want to be unique. And what that really means is that you're giving readers what they expect with your twist. Someone doesn't want to pick up an alien romance and have no aliens. There are certain tropes in certain genres that people expect. Not that you can't do your own twist, but if you're writing, for example, this is a trope in romance. I mean, secret baby romance. The baby has to be kept a secret. You can't just go out, hey, I'm pregnant. Your story kind of ends, right? And so I say that to say someone that mixes up and matches up genre, try to find the genre where you feel most alive in. Don't try to write something that you feel like you have to change your entire writing style. Try to pick a genre where you feel like you can write stories you will love, but are meeting readers' expectations. But one thing I messed up with coming from the short fiction world, I was writing way too short for the genre. Alien romances typically are a little shorter, but my first book, it was way too short for the genre. And I was like, oh no, this is like a perfect size. There's a lot of world building that goes into something like that. So it's certain things. It's not that I had to change my whole story. It's just that I had to write more story. I would say have some dedication. This is going to take time, but it's usually not an overnight success. And most overnight successes have been writing for years. I promise you that. Time management, that's the thing I'm working on. You got to carve out, even if it's an hour a day, you just get 100 words. You got to carve out some time to consistently write. And also write to market. Don't do what I did, publishing shorts and going, why is no one buying these shorts? you know, don't do what I did, where I was like, oh, I'm just going to write in this genre and not read enough in the genre to know the tropes and know what people are expecting out of it. You don't have to change everything, but if you want to make a career and make the money, you got to do certain things, and writing becomes a job. It's not just a creative endeavor at that point.
Ooh, I love it. There is some gold nuggets for all of our listeners who are interested in saying, I would like to take the leap. I would like to go ahead and make this a career. It is a career. It is a job. It is a business. You have to look at it from that perspective and not be afraid of it. It's just embrace it and have some fun with it. Sweetie, I could totally talk to you forever. But before we go, where can our listeners find you? Where are your stuff located?
Yeah, so you can find everything across my pens and genre at author Z Knight, Knight as the knight was the sword.com. And that's where I house all my information. You can find everything about me from the editing world to my book world. It's pretty much housed there, and links out to all my other little activities. And on social media, you can find me just about everywhere at author Z Knight as well.
Awesome. Simple, simple. People can find, people can follow you. They can completely fall in love with your works. Before you leave us, are you ready for our lightning round?
I'm ready as I can be.
Easy peasy. Don't think too hard on this. Let's see how you do. Question number one, hot chocolate or latte?
Hot chocolate,
Nice. My kind of girl. Early bird or night owl?
night off.
Really?
hmm
I'm such an early bird. I admire you guys. Enjoy. Just run with it. Ebook or print?
Print, because my eyes are bad. You can't see my glasses, but my eyes are pretty bad.
So, candlelight dinner or breakfast in bed?
Hmm, that's hard. I'd say breakfast in bed, only because I'm lazy. It is always nice.
I like that part. So bring it to me. I don't have to go anywhere. Here's a little different one. Let's see how you figure this one out. What animated character best fits your personality?
Oh, that one's hard. I would like to think I'm a Katara, though I know I'm not as brave as her. But I
Okay.
like to think I'm her
Why?
because I like that she tells the truth, even in really tough situations. And I like how she's always goal focused and watches out for her friends and family.
Aw, I love it. That is so awesome. Sweetie, it has been such a pleasure to have you on this show. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
All I want to say is it's so great to talk to you all. It's always a great thing when you can talk about writing instead of writing. So I say all that to say thank you so much for having me. And I hope to get this full series out to you between this year and next year.
Oh, a lot of stuff coming, a lot of fun things that our listener can expect. To everyone, thank you so much for joining us, Z. I love you. Thank you so much. Excited for your work. To our listeners, happy celebration. Remember, we have another author coming and joining us tomorrow, just a week long of fun. So make sure to give us a like, review of the podcast, share with your friends, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye, everyone.